This was the first time that I really failed my plan. And in our full year 12-month model, I've never had anybody not get a deal in those 12 months. Our average return's about 10K per deal. It's free to go and find deals that are on the MLS or Zillow. It's free.
Okay, and you're ready to move forward at that today.
A lot of people, in my opinion, should not be wholesale.
And this goes back to just being a quality fucking person, doing quality business, guys. Just be a good person.
Exactly.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Deal Room. My name is Mat Walton, here with my co-host, Eva. How you doing, Eva? How's your week been? It's only Tuesday.
Only
so it's
Tuesday.
a
So
short week.
yesterday was
Sometimes
a
we feel wrong.
Monday.
Yeah.
You know, good. Lots of things to do.
Yeah.
I don't think I did everything. Got to do more. It rolled into today. So now today feels like Monday 2.0.
Put on that end of the do list right to the beginning of this one. So keep on rolling. Awesome. Guys, I'm excited about the guest we have today. It's a big guest, someone who I've followed for a little bit too. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've seen him everywhere. Ryan Zolin, how you doing?
I'm doing well, bro. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being here. So you run a bunch of different things from what I see. 34 investments. Is it 34 holdings?
34 investments. We own some rentals. 34 holdings. We wholesale and flip.
Okay.
We've got an education company and community. And then we, just kind of all over the place. Invest in a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and so your community right now is over 7,000 members, right?
We've got over 5,000 in our free community. We've got just over 500 paid members in our community. And then aside from that, we've, we've got tens of thousands of people that have clicked on our ads, gone through our funnels, and just haven't made their way to our free resources. But
Yeah, it's weird how they don't make their way to the free resources, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all good. I do a very no hard pressure, no sale kind of
Sure.
vibe. I'm not a guru kind of guy. I'm more of the guy that does the real estate investing. And then if people are interested in getting some help and assistance, I could do so.
Awesome. So I kind of want to start into that because I'm excited about this conversation in general.
Absolutely.
The guru side of things. A few posts here and there. Me and Eva have talked about this too on your side of it. And gurus can be a very bad thing. Do you think they're all
90%
bad?
of the time. Yeah.
90%. There you go. So most of the time in there. So I mean, without naming names and stuff like that too, I mean, what are some of the biggest issues you're seeing right now with gurus in the real estate space?
Outside of over-promise, under-deliver, to stick people in group coaching after taking what's most likely in their life savings, just to kind of start the conversation, I think group coaching is a mess. A lot of times people need that one-on-one. I think it's very similar to a university and college. I think it's similar to a community college. I think it's similar to a trade school, elementary school, middle school, high school. Yeah. Did you ever have a question and just the teacher said, ask it next period and best of luck if you get the answer? No. Sometimes you had to stay after class. Sometimes you had to go up and talk to the teacher. Sometimes you got pulled to the side and they had to sit down and actually explain it to you in a different way. Or in worst case scenario, you have to get a tutor. I think a lot of things in life come from hands-on experience. And so I think the group coaching model that's $10,000 plus doesn't really work. So we spend a lot of time really hands-on, showing people the way, showing them the systems, pulling back the curtains, and really wanting to give them the entire experience rather than just hoping they connect the dots.
Yeah, I was wondering how that looks like with you on your group, because obviously you can only scale yourself as far as you possibly can, right? You only have a certain amount of time during the day. So when you give me this example of how you hold people's hands throughout it, I'm sure you do some kind of group call in a way, but then you just kind of narrow it down a little bit. So how does that work for you guys?
We host everything on school. So we'll do little live sessions throughout the week. I do coaching calls every day of the week. Myself, my team, my acquisition manager, they run the calls. I host majority of them. And then I don't look at people as a number. So I'm not the biggest community by any means, but when someone joins me, I'll spend the time and I'll actually sit down and get to know them. I don't charge for my masterminds. We have one coming up this Friday and Saturday. We've got over 50 people flying in from all across the country. Wow. Normal investment guru communities charge 10 grand to join, 10 grand for the mastermind. And then if you want to breathe the same air as them, it's another 10K. I don't believe in that. I do believe in time frames, so you don't get lifetime access. But I believe in most of the stuff being that you come in, you apply, you ask for help. And if I have to hop on a quick phone call, you need to text my cell directly. We need to hop on a quick little live session in Zoom or inside the school. Myself, my team will always be available for that stuff.
How do you because you have a community of 500 people that are paying you, I guess, and then you have 5,000 some members, and you're doing a free mastermind. How do you have to just limit a certain way? Because I just feel like everyone.
This was the first time that I really failed my plan. I was trying to keep this one to be super tight smaller group, 30 plus people was kind of like the range we wanted to be in. And I don't know, do what I always do, I guess. Someone was like, hey, can I come? Can I join? Is there still room? And miraculously, always within the last 30 days leading up to the event, you get the people that are like, Ryan, what mastermind? And I'm like, the same one I've been talking about for the last 8 months.
Right.
So I just don't tell people no. When they need something or they want to attend, I'm not going to tell them we're all booked up. And so what we did was actually upgraded the venue. We went from like this little like office space in a hotel to the wedding ball venue. So that way we've got enough room for it to feel like it's a summit, but it's just specifically for those 50 people.
That's awesome. So yeah, I'm wondering about when, because I had another conversation on the podcast that I do with entrepreneurs. We do a lot of that. There's a guy, I'm blanking on his name right now. I think his name is Brandon, but he basically has this model where he's getting a lot of attention right now, and it's by calling out people who are gurus in the sales side of things. He's getting a ton of it, and so he's getting attacked by a lot of people, of course, in general. But one of the biggest things he said exactly what you said, which is that this group coaching model of getting people into this big old room and you can't help anybody out, and so they're charging a ton of money. That's something he's really calling out people for, and he's had a few people change their model to be one-on-one models now because of what he's been doing. So you guys are kind of on the same page. I wonder if you've ever seen him. His name is I think it's Brandon Klauser. I want to say his name is.
Are you talking about the guy who has the Instagram channel where he calls out gurus? It's called like Break Something.
No, I've heard of Ball Busters, right?
That's what it is.
Baller Busters, yeah. I've seen
that's
that.
Awesome. I've never heard of the guy. I'm sure he's a fantastic guy, especially if he's got the similar belief. And I think one-on-one obviously is hard to scale, but small group coaching isn't. And the way you do small group coaching is not by lifetime access. So that was one of my lessons I had to learn pretty early on. You can't give someone lifetime access and say, hey, for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, you've got me forever, because that's what saturates the communities. That's why a majority of the communities out there have less than 10% pay in full. That's why most of the communities out there have less than 5% that will actually go on to do more than 5 deals. I don't have the statistic to back this one up, but this is my opinion. The 1% are the people that actually go out there and actually succeed. So I don't want to be the guy that has 1% of my community succeed. I want to have my community go in and 80-90% get their first deal. And in our full year 12-month model, I've never had anybody not get a deal in those 12 months. So that's how we
they make their money back on that at least, and they got an ROI on it.
Our average return is about 10K per deal. So most of the stuff starts 5,000-6,000. They usually double their money.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that group approach and the way you do it smaller, I mean, are you just teaching on your double method, which I want to get into in a second too, on the wholesaling? You kind of teaching all of it, investment wise, buying, flipping, everything?
I do a little bit different than most communities. I don't teach dispositions and exit strategies. I think that's what really hurts most of the communities out there. They teach how to wholesale, how to flip, how to do creative finance, how to buy rentals, or whatever the case is, but no one teaches you how to find the deals. Right. So I teach how to work with real estate agents and how to find deals on the MLS, and then a little bit of joint ventures. And then with all respect, this sounds disrespectful when I say it, I don't care what you do with the deal. Most people in my community wholesale and flip, but at a certain point you have to buy rentals to offset your taxes. You got to go touch the stove to try creative finance or lending or whatever it is, but there's a time and a place to do so. So I created like a very crystal clear roadmap to follow step by step, and it starts with wholesaling and flipping. So just kind of depending on where you're at in the roadmap, I have people that join me that are making millions of dollars a year that just want to offset taxes and not pay a wholesaler $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for a deal. So they go and they learn our acquisition strategies of how to find it, and they buy rentals. And then the vast majority, they come in with no experience or a real estate license, and they don't know what to do. So I teach them how to find the deals, and then they wholesale or flip the deal.
Yeah, me and Eva, we both do agent outreach. That's what we do.
It's the best strategy. It's the best starting point for sure.
It is, yeah. And so Eva focuses a lot on market deals. I focus on every agent possible. If you're an agent in the markets I'm in, I've reached out to you and talked to you at some point, or you've ignored me and put me on D&D, whatever it is. I've reached out to you, and so yeah, I think it's great. I mean, obviously, like I saw one of your latest videos you put on this $0 of marketing, and people don't believe that for the most part. I mean, like now I pay for my CRM text to go out and my like calls that I make on that, but other than that, that's just the cost of doing business, right?
With your $0 marketing claim, are you considering the fact that you're texting and stuff like that, or is that not part of what
No, it's mostly just like to go find a list of realtors, it's free. Okay. To go and find deals that are on the MLS or Zillow, it's free. In fact, when someone first starts in my community, we don't encourage them to spend money on the systems and softwares that we use. We give them coded MLS sheets. We give them spreadsheets to keep them organized. We tell them to use their own cell phone, stuff like that. And then once you're up and going, maybe after your first deal or your second deal, you can invest in usually one of the two softwares we recommend, depending on if you're more MLS on market focused or more agent outreach direct to realtor. And I honestly, just to be transparent, I don't really love the agent outreach model as much anymore. I think it's really saturated, and a lot of the realtors out there are not producing. I forget the statistic, but last year it was like 44% didn't do a single transaction.
Higher than that, I think. Like
So
70.
if you're going to get in contact with them, which is already a flip of the coin, now you have to assume that 50% of them are not even doing business. I'd rather go on market and work those types of realtor relationships.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's something I preach all the time too. I call those ones that are already listing the properties unicorn agents because they already have what you want and they're likely to have it again. But those ones that you're cold calling a large list, I say those people are either one, not doing deals at all, or kind of doing deals because they also do hair or they're a teacher or something.
Oh, of course, yeah. They're the significant other of the real W-2 worker or entrepreneur in the family.
Yep.
Most realtors out there, and that's no shade. That's obviously, if anything, an envious comment. I wish that I could be in that position where I could be the part-time realtor that didn't have to work. But it just doesn't work that way. The realtors I want to do business with are the people that are active in this industry and active in what they preach. And those are the ones that are usually better at mining and finding the gold rather than the one that's still trying to believe in themselves or find the confidence or attending whatever next seminar to learn the next best thing.
Right. Yeah. So my approach is to blanket everybody. Because every once in a while, a dog finds a bone, I guess a squirrel finds a nut. And so like if I
Your
happen to
spreads
be
are a lot more in your strategy. You make a
Yeah.
lot more. You make twice, if not three times as much money as what we make. So it makes a lot more sense.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like off market.
Exactly. That's what I
Absolutely.
look for. And every once in a while, that agent that has never done a deal all year just happens to get that phone call from a family member with a terrible property. And I hope that they reach out to us in general. But we still do on market. We still make sure we find all the on market properties and add them into our list. And that's obviously low hanging fruit that we can reach out to and bring in. But we just keep these texts going consistently. When I was doing it myself without the CRM, it was me making 100 calls plus a day just on the phones. We're doing it. And I know I probably wish I would have gone more towards the MLS route, which I did do deals off MLS too. But it was just building that database of me just doing it with Podio and not having any type of CRM follow up, which sucks.
Absolutely.
Podio.
Got to start somewhere. It's all good.
Yeah. So I mean, you teach on the double dip method. So can you explain that a little bit for people who don't know?
Yeah, just kind of depends on who you're listing to on the internet. Some people teach that it's working with the listing agent and letting them get paid twice. I think that's going to be illegal here in the near future. So I don't even think that's a good strategy to go and try to do. I recommend being the realtor, so getting a real estate license, representing yourself on a transaction, writing the offer, requesting the commission to be paid by the seller to you as the realtor, and then assigning that contract to an end buyer directly. So you're getting paid a commission from the seller and an assignment fee from the buyer. That's my double dip. We usually make a couple $100,000 a year in commission, and I'm not out showing homes representing buyers or sellers. I do a little bit, but not as like an actual realtor. And then the investment side, obviously, is where we make our bread and butter. So
I'm wondering about that with the new law that comes in place, or the newish law that happened or whatever, where a lot of times sellers aren't paying the buyers and the buyer's agent and stuff. I mean, are you still seeing a lot of pushback on that, or you just?
It's been easier with the new rules because now it's negotiated. Granted, it was always negotiable, but now it's like I send my offer and I ask for commission to be paid in my offer. And then when I get the realtor that's either, a very anti-investor or just too dumb to understand what I'm saying, if they go buy a new house, are you going to have another realtor represent you, or are you going to represent yourself? You're going to represent yourself and get a commission and probably use that to either buy down your rate or go towards closing costs or put some money in your pocket, whatever it is. So it's the same principle. I'm the buyer in the contract. I'm the principal. I go under contract. I request the seller to compensate me a commission. They say yes 99% of the time, just because this is what they're used to. And then I wholesale that same contract out to an end buyer, and so we get paid twice.
Yeah, my wife is the agent in our business. She went and got her license. In Virginia, we have to have it. It's just part of it now. You can
Act
do more.
52, or is that Pennsylvania? I think that's Pennsylvania.
I don't know which act it is.
Virginia,
yeah,
definitely makes sense. Yeah, most of these states are. It's, in my opinion, going to be the new way of the future. You're going to have a real estate license to wholesale, and then it's a whole different conversation. But I believe that they're trying to get everyone licensed to then be able to regulate the ability for us to wholesale or to not to.
Right. Yeah, and make a little money through the MLSs and everything else that are going on
100%.
that. Right. So I mean, you think that's the way, and you think that's a good thing? It sounds like from
no, not necessarily. Rules are good, but guidelines and regulations are bad. Most of it's to make more money as like a governing lobbying union. So that's what NAR is, the National Association of Realtors, which is good. They have my best interest and they protect me or whatever I'm supposed to say. But South Carolina is a perfect example. You get a license and then they say you can't wholesale, because now when you're under that lobbying union of NAR, they come in and say, I have dictation over you because you are a licensed agent that's supposed to be using your best interest of the clients and yada, yada. So I understand that, and nothing I do is against anybody's best interest. In fact, my fiduciary responsibility is to myself, my client. I'm the buyer. Where I have an issue is states like South Carolina. They require a real estate license, and then they dictate what you can and can't do with the license, which is you can't wholesale. So if that ends up becoming the new norm, you're going to see 90% of this industry wiped out because they had no intention of actually buying properties. And the only way to actually do the business will be buying and selling properties by closing on it and then reselling. So more of a wholesale business model, novation business model rather than wholesale. So
that's exactly where my next question was going to go with. I was going to say, okay, so would you be double closing in that scenario? But
absolutely, I'm fortunate to where I'm at, but what I feel for is the people that are just getting started. How do you just get started then? You have to go get a real estate license and start on someone else's team and then get accustomed to the 10-15% payout that you may or may not get for finding and bird dogging. I want to teach you to become the investor, and you can't do that if you have to actually close on the property. Otherwise, depends on the state and the regulation, but you might need to actually double close and bring funds to the table. Not many lenders are going to be able to do like a pass-through close or allow a B2C to actually cover the funds of the A to B, which means you're going to get hit with all the different points and fees of hard money lenders, private money lenders, and you're going to have to put on your big boy, big girl pants to actually close on the transaction.
Yeah, it's not a very low barrier to entry at that point anymore.
No, it's going to be very, very hard to get in, if not I don't want to say like damn near impossible, but without the right connections or experience or actual mentorship, I wouldn't tell the average Joe Schmo to go and wholesale the way that most of these gurus nowadays do. I don't know. I'm conflicted. I'm in the middle. I think it's good and bad.
I was about to say the same thing too. Like, you can go both ways, because I think it's going to get a lot of the terrible people out of it. The people who are going to come in, to I
don't think everyone should be in this. I mean, when you see the communities that have tens of thousands of members, it's not good, to be honest.
Right.
This is not meant for someone to come in and get rich quick. This is not meant for you to go in and go to grandma and grandpa and contract a home and back out because you have an inspection period. This is meant for you to learn what real estate investing entails and how to actually do it efficiently, and how to be, ethical. And I think that's the big issue, is that there's no ethics and no code to follow the way that realtors are somewhat held to the same standard. I think that's the part where I'm more on regulation side. I'm all for getting a real estate license. I'm not for allowing or not allowing people to do what is in their best interest because it doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I got an interesting scenario because I've been looking at and following it. There's a lawyer here in my area in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and he's got a client right now who is a buyer, and the buyer signed a buyer broker agreement with an agent. And I don't know how long it lasted for the most part, but the buyer ended up talking to somebody with a for sale by owner, in negotiating and getting under contract and closing on the house.
Yep.
And the agent is now suing that buyer for $20,000.
As he should.
Okay. So I was going to ask you how you felt about that.
As a buyer, and maybe this is the part where I'll play devil's advocate, there's not enough consumer education to the buyers and sellers in the world to know what the process is for buying and selling a home. Where the buyer is wrong, and they should have sought legal counsel or discussed this with the realtor that they're working with. When you sign a buyer broker, assuming it's not a non-exclusive one, a buyer broker is what protects the realtor. Right. So the realtors, for example, we don't know the full context. What if that buyer wasted a year and a half of the realtor's time showing them homes, getting pre-qualified with a lender, sending them saved searches, getting them all the things considered that they need to buy a house for them to go buy it directly from a homeowner? Most buyers don't even realize not only is that not in your best interest, 99% of the time, the seller is the one that compensates the buyer's agent. So with that said, the buyer broker is what protects the buyer's agents for not getting screwed over. And actually with the rule change last year, that's what buyer brokers got more so enforced with in 2025 and especially in 2026. It's to protect these exact scenarios where a buyer might just go around the realtor they're working with and find a better deal, but now the realtor wasted their time and they don't get compensated anything. So.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of back and forth on that, right? Some people obviously say, like, in this business, you're here to close deals, and if you close a deal, you get paid. If you don't close a deal, you don't get paid.
For sure. I always just compensate more so to the realtor because I know what kind of sacrifice they go into. This is why I'm not an everyday buyer-seller's agent anymore. Yeah. They spend so much time, effort, and energy. I mean, like the scenario I just mentioned, what if he got them pre-qualified, or he or she? What if they spent a year plus getting them all the homes on their saved search? You want to get really technical? What if they sent them a list of for sale by owners and said, let's go and get showing scheduled and I will still work with you. The seller doesn't have an agent, but I will represent you and we'll work out something with my commission to be paid by the seller. We don't know the full context. And so if anything, the sympathy side I have is for the realtor that probably got screwed over on a commission that was a client they had representation with. The part, again, playing devil's advocate is you eat what you kill. So if the seller and the buyer work something out and the buyer's agent was irrelevant, they didn't do their job, they were non-existent, and they just sent over a contract to the buyer to sign, I do sympathize for the buyer. But that's why you don't sign a buyer broker unless you know what you're signing.
Yeah, it's, for me, I understand exactly what you're saying on both sides of it, because me reaching out to every agent in the industry, I have talked to a ton of terrible agents who do that, who just want to just do the bare minimum, if anything at all, and they want to get paid for it. They want to make sure they get paid on it. I've had agents that ask me for retainers.
Oh, believe me, I know. I see it all day, every day. Exclusive versus non-exclusive buyer brokers, and why are you working with 15 other agents, and that's not fair, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The part where
agents are asking me, like, hey, pay me $10,000 up front, and then I'll find you. I was like, no, like, this not.
Just go back to education. There's nobody teaching the consumers. They don't know exactly how to fill this stuff out. And so it's probably one big lawsuit away from having to change the way we educate consumers, buyers and sellers, on what the process looks like before they sign buyer brokers or listing contracts or whatever it is. So
yeah, I'm very fortunate. My wife was a real estate litigator, a paralegal for a real estate litigator, and so her and her contracts are very we're very good on that end. We just had an agent actually we talked to, and we've been fighting back and forth with him because he wants to send us properties. We're like, okay, send us property specific buyer broker agreements if you want to do that. And he's fighting about it, like, no, I'm not going to do one every single time. Like, well, oh well. And so we're about to sign this one where he just kind of put this vague language in it, just whatever. And then we asked him real quick, hey, by the way, who'd you get this deal? Is this deal your direct seller from, or who is this from? And he's like, oh, it's from another wholesaler. Like, no, that's exactly why we keep telling you.
It's on a JV contract, not a buyer broker. But yeah.
That's why, like, this is exactly why we haven't signed it for you yet. For that reason.
I always just tell them a story. In your case, your wife is a realtor and she brings me 2 or 3 deals a year. So in those instances, I don't want to sign an exclusive buyer broker because that would technically, legally, have me liable to paying you a commission on a deal that my wife brings to me. Right. So with all respect, why would you get compensated on something that she brings to the table? And then they usually either feel really dumb or they'll try to lie to you and say, well, that's not at all what I'm saying. And you're like, that's what I'm signing. So that's why it needs to be deal exclusive, or just make me one that's non-exclusive. I will always honor the deal that is brought to me by whoever it's brought to, but also in some instances, wholesalers, my family members, my friends that are agents bring me stuff, and I can't compensate you on deals that you don't bring me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was his argument. They're like, oh, it's just only ones that we bring you. Okay, but you're not direct selling this, and how you know that wholesaler hasn't sent to me already? So now I can't work. Now it doesn't work out.
Best of luck out there. It seems like you're too scared to be in this business and you don't trust anybody else. I'm not sure who hurt you. Best of luck in the therapy that you probably need, but I'm not the investor that you're going to be working with. So, I don't know.
Who hurt you?
For real. I mean, the amount of times that realtors bring their own personal bullshit to these kinds of like deals and transactions. This year alone, I've done more traditional real estate than I've done in the past like 5 years combined. And I cannot tell you, I'm wearing a hat more often now because my hairline is literally going back. And it is because of the traditional real estate side, nothing to do with the investment side.
Right.
Investment, it's nothing emotional. There's no like personal stuff. It's all business and numbers and contracts. Traditional, it's like all emotion. It's like, oh, the stove's in the wrong spot, or the paint is the wrong color, or it's not a cul-de-sac versus it's in the middle of the block. Like all just random things that I don't care. I don't.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, traditional real estate, I get that. It's 100% emotional when you're buying for yourself or buying for the family. They just look at everything like that. So I get it. And that's hard for me, though. Like you said, the agents that we work with in general, and there's good agents. I feel like when you have a good agent, you have a really good agent. When everyone else is just not good. And you have to like really fight for that. And so it's for us, it's reaching out to everybody to try and find that few good agents that will really bring us a bunch of deals, but just pull anybody else in.
100%. It's a numbers game, just like anything. If you're going to do the agent outreach approach, you have to do it at scale. It doesn't work otherwise.
Absolutely. Awesome. So with you and your flipping and in your investment stuff that you're taking on yourself, I mean, what's your strategy in this? I know most of the time I see your posts, you're talking about just in Arizona. Do you go outside of Arizona at all, or you just focus on one spot?
Not too much anymore. We've got some rentals in a couple other states, but nothing crazy. I've done deals in over 35 different states, but that's also what's led me to now just kind of stay home where I'm at. I like to do deals where I'm comfortable, and I'm very much in a great position to where we know how to do a handful of deals in Arizona every month without really trying too hard, just from our reputation, the agent relationships, the amount of offers we send. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really have like an opinion one way or the other. I just stay where I'm comfortable, but I do think other states have their purpose. You don't get as much appreciation, but you get the tax benefit and you get high rental rates. You get low rental rates, but you get high appreciation. You still get the tax benefit. So it really just kind of depends on your strategy. It goes back to like that roadmap I talk about. Wherever you're at, what's your goal? And then sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. If you were to tell me a deal's $1 in Wichita, Kansas, I'd buy it. But most of the time, the stuff that I'm looking for is single family, Arizona, East Valley specific, high appreciation, good rental market. I get my huge tax benefit and write off, and then I know what the best deals are.
Do you buy a lot of creative finance, and do you wholesale creative finance? No, you don't
I hate creative finance.
Okay. Yeah, why?
That has been a common thing we've been hearing.
Depending on who's teaching it, what they're saying, it's borderline loan fraud and fraud just in general. But aside from that, most of the people that do it, sorry, don't shoot the messenger, they can't qualify to do traditional financing and they're not good at finding deals. So the only way they could actually do this business, not legitimately, but the only way they can attempt to do this business is through creative finance. And that's no shade meant to be thrown, but a lot of the people I see that push it have gone through bankruptcy. They have no money in the bank. They don't spend money and time going and finding deals. They try to educate others to be bird dogs to bring deals to them so they don't have to go and do anything. So just to clarify, I don't like the subject to creative finance side. I love seller finance. Seller finance, the seller's the bank. It's a different conversation. The subject to, I just think that it's going to come back to bite more people in the ass than it is to benefit them. And again, no disrespect or shade to the people that do it or teach it or whatever, but I'm a traditional realtor at heart. So when I hear a lot of the things that are said and how it's pitched and, oh, just sign this and get them to sign that, it's like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to do that. I mean, like everything, I think, in educating the benefits of it and educating the downfalls of it also. And I think that wholesaling it is something I would never do anymore. Like I've done it one time. We've done one of them, and it didn't work out well. And I will never do that again because I don't
We've
ever.
had a few people in our community that have come to me and be like, "Hey, I've been sued over these," and I'm like, "Well, what'd you learn? You touched the stove, it burned you, and now if you touch the stove again, I'm gonna have to yell at you." So I don't know. I personally will tell you that I have a lot of conversations with the Department of Real Estate, with the commissioners. Some of my friends are friends with the attorney generals, like stuff that I'm very much connected behind the scenes. There's 3 main issues that have gone on since 2022, and they've already knocked out 2 of them. Number 1 was real estate commissions. Check. Number 2, wholesaling. Check-ish. They're getting there. 3 is creative finance. That domino's falling in 2026. So.
Yeah, we didn't get sued over it and anything like that. We've wholesaled it to
awesome.
somebody who was very big. It's not all. It's good that for us, but I guess we wholesaled it to a buyer that was really big on this area who we thought was a very good buyer. Ended up he was committing a bunch of fraud other places, and then ended up screwing this lady over. And I feel super guilty about that, and I feel terrible. We tried everything.
Going into business for like 10 plus years, 20 plus years with these people, 5 years if you're lucky, and most of them were in a position to where they couldn't keep the home. Right. So now you're going in trying to buy it, do lease options back to them, or you're trying to buy it and do a wrap creatively to some other buyer that can't qualify traditionally. What could go wrong? Yeah, I mean, it's more likely what's going to go right. And when the list of things, the opportunity outweighs the risk, it's good. When the risk outweighs the opportunity, don't be an idiot.
So what do you think though in those cases of like, this person is in a struggling position where they're, facing foreclosure or something like that, and
1 out of 100 times it makes sense. And the people that are in pre-foreclosure are, I hate to be this guy again, I'm friends with a lot of people that specialize in like short sales. Not that a short sale is in their best interest, but there's a lot of times that working with a nuance type of investor that doesn't know the ins and outs of what they're actually getting people to sign, the creative finance subject to or whatever the strategy is going to be to stop a pre-foreclosure is not as beneficial as a short sale. Get out, move on, and let's go. 1 out of 100 where I say creative finance does make sense, assumable loans. Seller is on the same page and knows what you're doing. You're so transparent. You find qualified investors that are not someone doing fraud or someone that's going in just trying to qualify for a house they can't buy. You're working with people that have experience, that know what they're doing, that are disclosing everything. And there's a reason, I'll just kind of wrap up on this for the topic, is there's a reason most brokerages don't support it. So you have to do it outside of the brokerage. You have to carry your own E&O insurance. You have to disclose everything in the book. And then you have to sign a lot of times wholesaling or creative finance disclosures and addendums with your broker that says if you get sued, you're on your own. I'm not dealing with it. So that's where it kind of goes back to the conversation of regulation. They want you to get licensed so they could dictate your actions, but then they have you sign away disclosures and get your own E&O insurance because the broker doesn't get anything from those deals. So they usually want nothing to do with them.
Right.
So my disclaimer here myself is I'm more traditional real estate agency focused. What's in everybody's best interest, ethics, and just disclosure. Creative finance walks just about every single edgy line that you probably could, and more risk than it is opportunity.
That's fair. So with traditional real estate in general, what you're doing here and what you're doing, so you kind of balance it. I'm wondering how you approach this, because are you getting a lot of traditional real estate just from the brokerage and your team that you have, or are you
Friends and family. I
family.
got in like 5 leads over the last 2 weeks, and I gave them all to my business partner Matthew and his wife Nicole. I don't.
Matthew Potter, right?
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy.
Yeah,
But I don't really do traditional real estate. I would rather pass those along to him, someone else at our brokerage. They get the win, they get the celebration. I don't need that business anymore. I'm in a really good position for that. But I also don't want to lose more hair. So traditional buyers and sellers are just they're not it.
You got to take that flight to Turkey.
Friends and family, man. And yes, absolutely. But friends and family I'll work with. They'll buy and sell homes. We've done probably about $2 to $3 million in sales this year, just traditional buyers and sellers. And coincidentally, can't time this more perfectly, but after this podcast, I got to go head out and meet one of my sellers. We're listing a $500,000 house.
Nice.
But he just bought a house cash, $700,000 about 2-3 months ago. So those are the friends, family I'll always work with. Aside from that, I'll just refer them out.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. If you have an approach for that, I guess obviously you don't, but I'm sure other people do. About when they go and talk to the sellers in situations where the house needs work or something like that. It's probably good to have options, right? I'm saying like, hey, I can not wholesale it necessarily, but I can get you an investor who will pay for it. Yeah, cash offer. I can get you. I can list it for you. We can talk about how much it costs to fix it up and then list it. Whatever. It's probably helps out a lot with agency.
We do like a car wash option. So it's like option A is I could list it. Here's what I think it's worth. Option B is I can give you speed and convenience with certainty, which is cash. Option 3, it's typically some sort of like a novation strategy, but then I usually also refer those out too, where I'll say, yeah, we can go in there and give you, this actually used to be a thing before it was called novation, but it was like a net listing. A net listing is essentially where you guarantee the seller a certain price, and anything above that is something that you as the investor get, or you as the agent get. And it's typically because the seller doesn't have the funds to fix up the floors, fix the paint, fix the windows, or whatever it is. And so you go in and you make the renovations for them with a lot of contracts, so that when you sell the property, you get reimbursed not only what you put into the renovation, but a little bit of the profit. And so it's a little bit different than novation, where you're just taking it at a cash offer price, throwing it on the MLS. But we usually try to do like those 3 options, and then they pick whichever one makes the most sense. More often than not, they pick the listing option, and then every now and then they'll go the cash offer.
Do you like novations?
Yes and no. I like them more than the creative finance stuff. I think that it absolutely makes sense because of it being similar to a net listing.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what I've been taught. So the net listing side is legal. That's been around for over a century.
Yeah.
The novation stuff is just a new term and stamp on it so someone else can brand it and sell some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the people that do novations are not licensed. They're the middleman, the white glove concierge type representative that's finding the realtor in that market that they've probably never met. They've never gone to that market locally. They have a bunch of marketing going out direct to seller. They have a bunch of acquisition reps or VAs working it. They contract the deal, and then they go and they put it on the MLS, and then the seller gets all pissed off, and then the person in charge usually goes in and tries to defuse the situation. Not as much the expectation set as a net listing, so it just kind of depends on your approach. But for those that are licensed, the only main takeaway here is you're not the buyer and the listing agent on that deal. That's illegal. You can get a lot of trouble on that. So you have to find a way to keep arm's length distance. So you're either the buyer going and selling it, or you're the agent going and listing it. One of the two.
So no double dip method on that.
No double dip on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know about your team that you have. I mean, are you still heavily involved in every transaction, or you have a team that kind of does a lot?
Not too much, no. My team, I try to say this in a way where it doesn't seem like I'm like flexing, because it's really not. I'm not a smart guy by any means, so my team has fired me. They are like, Ryan, you can look at the deals, you can look at the systems, don't touch anything, and if we need you, we'll let you know.
Nice.
So what that usually looks like is at the end of the deal, once they get it under contract, I'm the guy that comes in and says, wholesale, 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 flip that one, keep it as a rental or whatever the case is. Other than that, it's all automated. We've got a bunch of VAs that are out there writing offers, comping properties, sending text messages. I've got one acquisition guy that overviews everything, all the inbound agent relationships, all the outbound text messages and calls, all the offers being sent, and he does the negotiating. And then my wife handles most of the transaction coordination like a traditional TC from contract to close. So once my team gets it under contract, she just reviews all the files to make sure contracts are done right, signatures are done right. Most of that's because it's ran through the brokerage for us to get a commission. So she just has to make sure all the initials and everything is done for the broker's approval. And then if they let me take a look at the deal, most of them, 99% are wholesale. And then flips are usually just a handful per year.
That's interesting. Yeah, you kind of run it like me and my wife too. My wife handles all the contracts for us. She does all the TC stuff, and we do a little bit of everything else. My team right now has been consistently. I have my friends who are buyers of mine, and they'll call me and be like, "Hey, what's going on with this deal that you have?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on with that deal. You got to ask Kathy about it, 'cause I have no idea." Which is a cool thing.
That's the best place to be honest with you. My wife hates doing all the acquisitions. She hates talking to people. She hates like the conversation piece.
Yeah.
She's more on the side that likes the organization, the paperwork, the seeing it from contract to close.
Right.
And that's how she started on my team. So
That's awesome. And you recently got married, right?
yeah, beginning of this year.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Makes
So
really, really pretty sourdough bread.
Yeah, she's amazing. She is literally my like exact opposite. We are not two peas in a pod. Like we are polar opposites. She is the introvert, the organized, the sweet person. I am the aggressive asshole that also is like more extroverted and can go and make a mess. But then the two of us kind of come together and we're a really good duo.
that usually works out really well. That's awesome.
Awesome.
So yeah, you use a lot of VAs and stuff now. Are you seeing a big transition to AI with a lot of VAs?
Yes and no. AI is more of just like I use it like Google. I talk to my AI bot all the time. I learned how to code the MLS with my AI bot, but a lot of the stuff I do is really like me. Again, I probably sound like an asshole in this podcast, but I cuss out my robot all the time. Like I'm like, mother, like, but it's more of just like, guys, I'm mad at the fact that I don't know technology, and so I take it out and project onto my robots. Aside from that, no, like we don't use it to comp, we don't use it to negotiate, we don't use it for contracts. I think there's a human element side of things that is like a non-negotiable that we're far away from AI overtaking that. The closest I've seen somebody get to that is actually Steve Trang. He's got a bot that calls sellers directly that can actually have a full-blown conversation, and people usually don't tell the difference. But working with agents, working with contracts and systems, it's just not there yet. I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or two if it is, but I haven't found any success with it.
Yeah, we've taken a look at it, Steve Trang's thing too, and Eva has one. Well, I agree with you on the agent side of things because you have to build a long-term relationship with agents. That's how it works.
For sure.
Relationship.
It's a relationship. It's not a robot. The systems, I think, is closer than anything. If you can build out CRMs, you can build out automations, you can build out like, I've seen it in Go High Level a bunch of times, the automations of text messages. You send one out, it has an AI bot that does the handling of inbound messages and either schedules appointments or gets to point A to point X, and then you come in from X to Z, stuff like that. But specifically with what we do on the MLS and with agents, it's just so hard to have them take over the human stuff.
Eva, what do you think?
I disagree.
Not over the phone,
I have an AI that does negotiate for us, and it gets us a lot of deals.
That's awesome. Well, I would love to hear about it because I have not found one yet. So I mean, maybe there's something that I'm missing out on. I'm obviously not perfect, so there's plenty of things that I'm just
like I know you've probably seen a lot of the GHL ones where they're more conversational.
Absolutely.
We don't use the GHL. I used AI as well to code out something, and I coded out an AI bot who then negotiates based on the parameters you set in GHL. So you do have to do the beginning ABC part where you're looking at the deal, adding it, comping the deal. Then you're putting in notes, different parameters on price, things like that for the AI to refer to while it's negotiating over text. We are also working on it to do voice. And then once it gets to that point where they've given a verbal acceptance, then you do XYZ as well.
For sure. And I think that's the part that I'm referring to is like it can get you from some points like from A to X, but it's sometimes getting it from C to X or whatever. You have to go A to C and then X to Z. So there's just some things that like what I want to see with it before I'm like all in on AI is like this thing can do the whole thing on its own. You've got robots that are going. There's a TikTok page that I'm following with a guy that his entire team is AI. The CEO, the COO, the HR department, he is just like a test dummy, and he's documenting the whole thing on TikTok, where his whole job is basically to talk to these robots and get it to talk to him. And a lot of it, actually the HR was like cussing him out the other day. But that's the kind of stuff where I'm very deep into the weeds of tech and understanding where things are going. And I think that it's system related. Absolutely. It'll be there very, very quickly. It's more of a race to see who could do it the fastest. And I'm more intrigued in the people that are creating their own AI bots. So that way you can scale education, consulting, coaching communities faster, because then you could really replace yourself by saying, here's all my videos, all my content, all my teachings. When someone has a question, they don't need to wait for me to be available. They could talk to an AI bot and get them the answer as fast as possible. So that related, system related all day. The human aspect, the relationship, A to B, B to B, it's really, really tough right now.
No, I agree. So I run a virtual assistant company too, where we staff virtual assistants out there. But it's, obviously the writing is on the wall of AI and how it's coming.
Oh, for sure. I mean, VAs were the first indication that you can replace American-based people. Yeah. And I love VAs. I think VAs are amazing. They're the most appreciative, hardworking people out there. Right. They're a dime a dozen. I mean, it's not like it's easy to just snap your fingers after this podcast and go find a VA that's going to take over your business. Right. But there's definitely a need for it. We've only got a few of them, but one handles stuff with my agent investors community, and then I've got 2 on my acquisition team. Right. Yeah, you have to go through a bunch of stuff too and find the right people. What we have is I use them to scale into different markets for me now. So I find really good VAs, and then they come in there and they be my acquisition rep for those markets. Yep. Like you said, they're very appreciative. They work extremely hard, and you can find ones that are really good. They're affordable, dude. I mean, $4 to $10 an hour, depending on their skill set and their experience. I mean, I've gone the route of paying them like $8 to $10, and I mean, I don't have any issues with it, especially if they're doing a $300 an hour job, or if they're doing something that is even a $20 an hour job. If it's taken off my plate, I'll happily do it. It also helps you to protect a lot of your percentage on deals, because if you hire Americans, you're giving up 20-25% of your deals on acquisitions potentially. Minimum, yeah. Minimum, most of the people that we hire nowadays, I mean, they are 25 to 30% starting, and then by the time they're off my team, if they're on to their own next thing, or by the time they've peaked out, they're at 30-40% on the transactions. Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to scale when you're giving up more, half your deal. You're giving up more than half your deal at that point, because everything else that comes in the cost for doing the deal. You got it. So it allows you to kind of grow with that, and so that's the way we do it there. But I'm seeing a lot with the VA side of things. I mean, it's just, if you're a low level VA of somebody who can just do CRM stuff, or somebody who can just do it like maybe cold call and just outreach on it, you're going to get replaced. It's just a matter of fact. It's just the way it is, because again, VAs have to take breaks. They have to go on to the doctor. They have to go to sleep and stuff like that. And you know, AI doesn't have to do that. But I agree with you on the fact that we're not there yet as far as the closers go on the phones. I think we're very close. I think VAs are going to be the ones that manage your AI in the interim, and then you'll find the AI that ends up taking over, and who knows, maybe it's right here. Right. Yeah. So. Gotcha. Do you use like Investor Lift and stuff like that for your dispo? Do you even do any of that? Just all your relationships? Tried talking to Robert about it once, and kind of got dismissed. All love to Robert, but his model works very much for direct to seller and dispo wholesalers. Yeah. For the little guy like me over here that does most of his stuff on market, my biggest issue and complaint has been finding a way to segment out majority of the buyers, because when you blast these types of deals out, it always makes its way back to the realtor, and then it doesn't matter how it got there, it's always your fault as the person that's buying it. So I've never found success with a big dispo platform. With that said, I've been very curious with a few of them for sure. A lot of the people in my community use Investor Base and then Dispo Genius. Yeah. Yeah, Andy over Dispo Genius, we use that too. It's great for us as far as organizing stuff. It incorporates with what we have with Go High Level. So for the people that are using that, I love Andy. He's been an amazing resource and a great guy. I've only chatted with him a handful of times, but every time I talk to him, it's like the amount of information and knowledge that kid has is just like, he's amazing. Yeah, I was telling him, he when he first came up with Astro Blaster, it was called REI something, I remember, but he was giving me a demo of it, and he was in his lunchroom in high school. Like, he was at a lunch giving me a demo of his system that we had. So he's great. Yeah, he's extremely smart. Worked really hard on that. Yeah, it's been great. And so I like what you said too about how you're dispoing, and most of the deals that come through, you're dispoing like 90% of them or more. Yeah, direct to buyer, and then with a dispo wholesaler that doesn't blast it out. Yeah, because Eva takes on properties too when it comes through, but us in the position that we had, we created a wholesale business, and that wholesale business brings us deals, and then we can be picky about it. We're like, all right, well, that's the only way you should do it. I never understood the people that want to go in and build a huge rental portfolio that barely makes any money, no cash flow and no equity. I don't like that model. And then I never understood the people that watch a few HGTV shows and come in thinking that they're going to end up going and flipping 5 houses like that, and it's super easy. Most of the stuff out there is not like that. I've been on all the TV shows, and 1, it's not real, and then 2, the flipping side is never that easy. There's always shit that goes wrong, and it's always your fault, and it's always more money. Right. So what I like now is, I mean, this year been our lowest flipping year we've ever had, really, since I've been doing the flips. We've only flipped 1, but the 1 flip I did, we made over 100,000 on. So I'd rather flip those types of properties that are a slam dunk. I'll keep it as a rental if, God forbid, the market turns on me again like it did in 2022. And I've got enough spread on it that I can always go the BRRRR method, worst case scenario. So
Yeah. So you look at a bunch of things before you decide to take on that flip.
no, for sure. Yeah. I'm very, very particular. That's why, if anything, you see me on social media, I buy properties in the East Valley, in Arizona. I'll wholesale anything, but I'll flip in the East Valley specifically.
Do you only wholesale in Arizona or across the United States?
Yeah, just in Arizona. That's where my bread and butter is. The Valley specific. We do a lot of business in like North Phoenix, the West Valley, Glendale area, and then East Valley is where I'm the guy.
Do you think there's ever an excuse for anybody who's wholesaling to say that my market's tough and that's why I can't do deals?
Put on a fucking helmet. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss. But, no, I don't really. We're in 2025 here, almost in 26. Like, if you can't find a way to get past your own stupid excuses, I usually say it a little bit nicer, where it's more of like, you're right. Yep, the market's saturated. Like, even how I started this off, I said agent outreach is saturated. I'm right because that's what I believe. Now, I also see people like you, Matt, that are like, I could go and do agent outreach and I'm gonna reach out to every single realtor, and you probably make a lot more money than we do every single month because your spread is a lot more and you could do a lot less deals without having to go and do as much manual labor that my team does for the MLS. So really, everyone's right. You just have to find what works for you and then prove yourself right or wrong. So if your market's saturated, go to a different market. And then when that doesn't work, then what's your excuse? Because you could do it virtually, but the only time I'm ever on their side, you're in the middle of nowhere, there's 100 active listings, there's 5 realtors, and everybody knows everybody. And even then, you could still do 2 to 3 deals per year minimum, but you're just not going to make as much as if you were to go to the major metro in your local state or go to the next market virtually in the state over. So I don't know, just I say put on a helmet because everything in this business is tough, and if you're going to make those excuses, I don't even want to help you.
So what are some of the running a community, or what are some of the 3 to 5 mistakes you see that people come in making consistently when they start off?
The first one that comes to mind, I think, is kind of BS, but like that shiny object syndrome, analysis paralysis, the fear of the unknown, whatever you want to call it. People are always just scared of their own shadow. And it's like, if you don't realize you have to just start somewhere, you have to get willing to make mistakes and get up. If you're going to worry about everything being perfect before you go and take action, nothing will ever be perfect. And by the time you go to take action finally, you've probably missed the boat. Things have changed, regulation comes in. It might be a little bit harder than it is when you first looked at it. So I think that's 1. 2, I think this is a big one, but ego and entitlement. A lot of people come in expecting more than what they're actually worth, and they think they're better than they actually are. No disrespect, but entitlement comes from usually childhood stuff or from handouts or from people getting things that they really shouldn't have without getting actually told, no, you suck or you failed. Participation trophies. And then ego is like just nonstop. I mean, everybody wants to be the guy or the girl, but then when you get to that position, they realize they don't have the money to be that person that they think they want to. And so those are the 2 things I think really destroy businesses, specifically in this industry. One more, biting off more than they could chew. You know, it's like, I'm the best wholesaler, fix and flipper, creative finance, lender, blah, 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 blah. It's like, just say you don't do deals, dude. Like, I don't get it. Like, find one thing and become so good at it. Like, when people think of me, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's usually that I work with agents and do deals on the MLS. It's not like, oh, Ryan, he's the best lender in this business. Like, it's very particular that I do deals a specific way. So I think that people need to get really good at identifying what their brand is, what their strategy is, and then scaling in different directions from there.
Love that. Yeah, Eva, what do you see typically when people come to you? Because you run a course too. Or not course, but you run a community.
A lot of my people are like the people who come from YouTube University who are very brand new, and they just think that it's a lot easier than it is. They think it's all going to fall from the sky. They think that they just need to make like 20 calls and they're going to have a deal and they're going to make 10K tomorrow. And making 10K in like 10 days or whatever is possible, but you better be making like 500, 600, 700 offers. You better be following up every day. You better be working like 12 hours for those 10 days. Like, it's not like,
and also be prepared to give up 50% of that deal.
Yeah. No, you're definitely going to, because you're going to have to JV it. There's no way
you're not going to know what you're doing on the first deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So like, is it possible? Yeah, I've seen it happen multiple times, but is it possible if you're just going to work 30 minutes and then like flick your twat and do whatever else and then say like, hey, I did it and it's not working and now I'm giving up? I'm going to be like, okay, well, how many offers did you make? How many times did you call somebody? How many hours did you put in? Like, what? Show me all the data of all the things you did. Oh, you sent out 5 offers.
Right.
Okay, well, it makes sense now. It makes sense. Yeah. So a lot of it is just people coming in with completely unrealistic expectations from usually YouTube University.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue is following the wrong people. I told the story before. There's a guy who reached out to us for a virtual assistant after he'd already spent $20K on a mentorship. The mentorship told him now he needs this $2,000 a month CRM, and then he needs to go get a virtual assistant to pay for that CRM, to work with that CRM within it. And I was like, you're about to be $30-some thousand in debt, and you haven't even gotten close to getting a deal yet. And I was like, what is your plan? I mean, like, how long
Well,
you
and
plan
even
on?
so, like, you're better off just going and working on someone's team. Like,
Yeah.
and don't get the wrong message as you're listening to this. If you fucking DM me and say, hey, are you hiring? No, the answer is no. Like, you got to find someone's team to join that is hiring and actively looking to employ.
Right.
But that's how I think most people should start. And then once you have a little bit of clarity and foundation, then you invest into mentorships or go in the direction of YouTube University. And like Matt, you just said, you find the people you're looking to be around and become, and then you pay to be those mentees. You pay to be in that community. Can't tell you how much money I've spent in mentorships and masterminds and communities and stuff like that. Most of them all say the same thing. So.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important to find the right people, and there's nothing wrong with paying. I think that you probably realize too in your community that you have that the people who get things for free are typically the hardest to work with.
Absolutely. Well, they have the highest expectations.
Exactly, and so they take more of your time, and obviously not paying. So I see a lot of those comments a lot when people like talk about mentorships or talk about programs. It's like, oh, you wouldn't be charging people if you knew what you were doing. If you were doing deals, you wouldn't charge people. Like, you're just trying to scam people out. I'm like, no, the truth is, yeah, some people might be scamming you, but for the most part, if the people who put their money into something are more serious about it, and they actually want to spend time with those people because they're actually going to follow through instead of wasting our time when someone's doing something for free and never actually going to do the work that you tell them to do.
100%.
So it makes sense to, and I think you're probably on the same, but like gurus, yeah, they suck, and sometimes, and a lot of the communities, that way they do things.
Even the ones you spend a lot of money in, while I don't love a lot of them, you could still learn a lot from them.
Right.
You just have to know that your ceiling is going to be capped at what their expectations are for their community members to go and do. Mm-hmm. And then you also have to have the realistic expectation, like we just heard, is like you have to understand you're not coming in being special. In most of these communities that you invest in, tens of thousands of dollars, you're going and spending money, and you're not getting time. You're getting information and knowledge with their experience. And so I think you really have to find who the mentor is. That's why I actually, not sell any of our stuff here, but starting on a team is the best way to do it. That's how I was taught to get into real estate, and that's exactly how I got my foot in the door.
Yeah, see, I didn't do that. I paid for a $2,500 mentorship. It was not a good mentor.
Bad.
Oh, it's not bad as far as the price goes. It was not a good one in general. I just learned enough to what to do. And so I got I put the work in. I got a couple of deals done right away, which is great. And then I funded it to buy into Jamil's astro flipping too, because he was teaching on how to actually grow a business. I
love astro flipping. I think they're the most detailed wholesaling program and community out there. I think they're still up and going. I'm not 100% sure, but they're unbelievable. I mean, that's exactly, I actually don't even say I learned from Jamil. I learned directly from Josiah, and that was life-changing.
Right. No, it was great. I mean, obviously to help me and Eva build businesses and understand more about the wholesaling side of things, and it was great. I do wonder, in general, Jamil started co-living, teaching about that right now, which is great now.
Because he's got something mindset. He was actually going to be speaking at our event, but I had to keep a secret for a while. I posted it yesterday, but he was going to be speaking at our event, and then he was planning to propose, and so he's recently engaged as of just a few days ago. And so weird timing with everything, and so we're still trying to work it out, seeing if there's a last minute appearance that might pop up, but what's more than likely going to happen is the next event he'll be speaking at. But he's the OG, he's the godfather of everything wholesale related, and when it comes time to learning how most of this stuff is done, Josiah, the guy that really was behind the astro flipping model, is one of the smartest guys I've ever met.
Oh yeah.
So you're like OG.
I was the very first member in there.
Yeah, I joined in late 2020. When did you start? Like at the beginning of 2020 or before
2019 or 2018. I was technically member number 2. But they didn't have any members in there. I was the first person in Arizona. I didn't even go through the astro flipping stuff at first in virtual. Jamil had me go to his office, and I sat down with Josiah. I went through all the material in hand, paper version. Wow. And he started showing me the deals. He showed me intake, showed me marketing, acquisition, disposition, TC, and so on. And then Jamil had me basically go and be a sidekick to him at all the masterminds and all the events. He introduced me to everybody personally, and that's what led to me being on a show with Brent Daniels for a year. Yeah. I was running 5 miles in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday with Pace before he had sub 2. I was there when Steve Trang launched Real Estate Disruptors, and I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people that's been on there 3 times.
Nice.
And then I got introduced to pretty much all the big names in real estate, and I invested into a lot of their mentorships and their communities, and I saw the good, the bad, the ugly. And then I really just kind of went and did my own thing from all the variations that I went through.
Do you still get love from everybody when you did your own thing?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. I got a few love letters, but it's okay. I understand and respect why that is the way it is. It's politics. My only thing I will say is the people that I learned from weren't the people that created it. There was someone that taught them, and so the stuff that I just don't love is the politics. I'm one of the most direct, straight shooters I've seen in this industry, where you could just ask me and I'll just tell you how it is. Most of the people out there dance around certain things and they try to play a certain figure or try to be a certain thing, and I understand. Kind of goes back to the whole "don't meet your heroes" conversation, but no, there wasn't really. The person that supported me the most was Brent Daniels. Brent was the person that actually helped me name Agent Investors. I was like this close to calling it Investor Agents because I'm an investor first, agent second. And then this was right before the whole AI boom happened. And he was like, you should make it AI. It should be Agent Investors. You are an agent first and then an investor second. And so the whole reason it actually got named to be Agent Investors was with Brent. And we launched it while I was doing a show with him called Millionaire Before 30. We ran that for about 1.5 years straight, recording every single week.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reasons I asked you about, what you teach in your community too, because I've seen this and I wonder, when you teach wholesaling and just wholesaling, I feel like there's a point in time where the people that you're teaching, the ones that are successful, they don't know, they not necessarily no longer need you in a sense because they've kind of graduated.
Yeah, you outgrow the community. Happens every time.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I just see that happening. And I'm like,
you shouldn't wholesale forever. Wholesale should be the gateway. And so I kind of refer to wholesaling as like a drug. It's like wholesaling is the gateway drug that leads you to flipping, leads you to buying rentals, leads you to creative finance or lending or developments or multifamily or whatever other strategy you're going to do. But wholesaling is the barrier of least requirements. And then after that, you can find the best deals. And like we just talked about, cherry pick the ones to fix and flip, so that way you make 5, 10, 15x what you normally would wholesaling, but on a fix and flip. And then at a certain point, assuming you have all your ducks in a row and you actually get shit done, you're going to have a CPA and the worst business partner of all, Uncle Sam, that comes in that says, give me 50%. Yeah. And so the only way you're going to legally offset taxes outside of donations and 1099s and prepaying for things is going to be going and actually buying real estate. And so buying rentals then becomes what I say is like the third tier. Wholesaling, flipping, buying rentals, and then to really call this like a high school journey, freshman, sophomore, junior, by the time you get to senior year, I'm a substitute teacher. I don't give a shit what you do. If it doesn't work, it's a tax write-off and a loss, and if it does work, you're a dog. You're an evil genius, and I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. You at least went on to the next best thing, and it's all stemming from the foundation of wholesaling without spending a bunch of money. So yeah, wholesaling, the real reason people teach it is because they can sell you products and services and systems and all these different things that you really don't need when you first start. After you close your first few deals, then you could start investing. Yeah.
I like that because we've had too many people that come to me for ask for virtual assistants, and I tell them like, no, I'm not giving you one.
You don't need it yet.
You need to go close a deal.
Well, most of the time, the people that are looking for it, they have never done a deal, and so they're trying to find someone to go and do the deal for them, and they don't even know what a deal looks like.
Yeah, so. I had to tell them that. One of the first questions I ask is, how are you going to tell your VA what to do when you haven't done it? I was like, oh, well.
You can't train on something you don't know what you're supposed to train.
Right. Yeah, so go through it. Obviously go through the crap first before you start investing in a bunch of stuff. Go through it. And I think what actually Brent Daniels said this to us at Jamel's Mastermind was like, why would you jump into flipping in when you can secure yourself by having wholesale funds coming in constantly, and now you have a business that is bringing you money in consistently, and you can play with that money. But if you just go jump to a flip, now you're risking your own money and your own livelihood on it when you don't have consistent money coming in. So we did that. We just closed a flip yesterday that we just did, which we made money on, which is great. I partnered up with somebody who's a friend of mine who actually I wholesaled my first deal to him ever. Became friends over a period, and he did all the work for us. I brought the funding in the deal and everything like that, and we closed it, and I made good money on it. But I still think over and over again, like, hey, I probably could have wholesaled that for more. And so,
peace of mind. It depends on where you're at and what your goals are. I think wholesaling is only appealing when you need the capital and fast liquidity, cash, stuff like that. It's our primary business model, so I think it's a great strategy. But I always make sure people aren't confused. I'm not like a wholesaler. I'm a real estate agent and investor, not just because of my community name, but I find good deals. And then depending on what the deal is and what it looks like, then I can determine what the exit strategy will be.
So when you're first starting off and you're just getting into wholesaling, do you recommend people, like, because you have to talk to agents, right? And agents are very wary of wholesalers in general, for the most part. What's your strategy of getting them into the door with the agent in order for them to send you deals if they're doing that? Or when to work with you
when they're going to wholesale?
Tell them straight up.
No, always, yeah. Most of the realtors appreciate that, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because I do most of my stuff in Arizona, but we send out a lot of offers and a lot of text messages, and a lot of the time, of course, I get the agents that are like "F you" or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But most of the people that I get responses back, even if they don't have something, is saying, "Oh, I've seen your videos," or "I know Ryan personally," or "Oh, we got an offer on one of our listings recently from him." It's never anything bad. It's a reputation.
Yes.
So I don't want to lead off by saying I'm a buyer and then I wholesale. I tell them I'm a real estate investor and I flip, I wholesale, and I buy rentals.
Okay.
And then the people that join my community that ask, how do I get started? I tell them by going to an agent and saying, my intention here is to wholesale. I have a buyer that's looking for opportunities. Can you please help me connect some pieces? If they say, well, I just want to work with your buyer directly, I'm not a licensed real estate agent. Therefore, I cannot get a referral on the deal. My intention is to wholesale, so I'm being upfront and honest with you. If you have stuff, please send it over to me. We could put up non-refundable earnest money on these deals.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense that an agent would say, I want to work with your buyer directly. Like, would you give me your buyer directly that you're working with?
A lot of times you'd be surprised. That's the number one thing that we see realtors say is, well, why don't you just connect me with that buyer and then I'll send you a Visa gift card. And then I'm like, well, that's not how this works. That's illegal. Yeah. That's bad. That's this, that's that, whatever. For us, it's more of just, I'm transparent. I'm upfront. I'm honest. I need to sleep at night.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we have about, I'll say about 14 minutes up, and I appreciate your time on this, but I want to ask you, I think Eva texted you about it, asking you if like your worst deal or something that you've had that went wrong. Do you have any off the top of your head?
Yes, she definitely did. And I forgot to think about it.
That's okay.
I kind of tell this story often more on the traditional side than I do on the investment. Traditional, one of the biggest turnoffs I had, this happened once, and then it kind of happened again, but it wasn't to the extreme. I had a buyer client we were working with for about 8 months, 9 months from California, moved out here, got them under contract. Final walkthrough comes up and they're like, hey, we're going to have you go meet our family friend at the house. It was the wife's boyfriend. And so the wife got the husband and the 2 kids and the 2 dogs to basically say, yeah, we're going to leave California and our family and our friends and our life to come out here so that she could divorce him and basically move in with this next boyfriend into a house that he wanted to see what it looked like. So when they got divorced, that wife would keep the house and that he'd be moving in.
Jerry Springer special.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, and I'm at this point like 19 years old. So I'm like, welcome to the real world. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen even in the influencer investment guru space, the amount of times these people cheat on their husbands and wives and they're doing like these crazy drugs or trying to teach people to do things they're not even doing anymore. I don't like that stuff. So no. I don't really appreciate that. That's probably one of the crazier sides of things. I had another guy that in the final walkthrough, we had to get debris taken out of the yard for an FHA loan to be approved. And so they put it in the back alley and the seller said, hey, I moved it so we could close. Buyer went out there after close of escrow. We're representing the buyer. He ends up going and lighting it on fire, lights himself on fire, sues me. My defense is he's a Green Bay Packers fan and they're all crazy. But aside from that, I'm a Bears fan. But aside from that, he just, I don't know. I've seen some crazy shit. Guy lighting himself on fire suing me. Seen people literally throw away their entire family and past or whatever the case is. I don't have full context, but what I experienced, I didn't like. And just a lot of unethical, not truthful things that just are not fun.
How did that lawsuit go in court?
Oh, I won.
Yeah, I mean,
Which, by the way, I don't do final walkthroughs like 99% of the time, but for that one deal I did, and we got him to sign off in the final walkthrough. So my basically saving grace was that I had him sign off saying everything's out of the house. Property is in the condition it needs to close. The debris that was supposed to be there is removed. And the person that complained to get him to remove the debris was the car mechanic shop across the street that didn't like that the debris was in the alleyway. And so this dumbass, instead of going and removing it, tried to light it on fire and lit himself on fire and decided someone had to be at fault other than himself. And so he sued myself and my business partner at the time. And we won that pretty easily. It didn't end up turning into anything. I've been sued by brokers, my own brokers, when I left. They sued me for taking agents that were on my team to the next brokerage. And my broker that I had at the time was like, you should countersue them. And so I got my attorney involved. We countersued my brokers and they ended up having to write me a check because the 1099 contractor, I can't force to leave. The 1099 independent contractor chose to leave because he's on my team. And so you sued me, I'm going to sue you. And they ended up having to write me a check after I left them.
America.
Yeah. I've seen a bunch of shit, man. I've done so many deals and seen so many situations that nothing really surprises me at this point.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. If you're successful, you're just going to get sued.
We get sued. Knock on wood, we haven't this year, but usually at least once a year. So
Yeah, I haven't
Seems
been
like
sued.
everyone's saying to start budgeting to be sued once you get to a certain level.
I mean, it's a tax write-off. It's nice to have a CPA. Mine used to be on retainer, but
Yeah.
now it's like I've got a CPA that has a legal team in-house, and then I've got my like really, really big, scary attorneys if I ever need them.
Hmm.
But all that stuff's a tax deductible, and then I also had them copyright all my stuff. I had them go through all my contracts. They've gone through all my legal processes. I am so far by the board and buttoned up that if I get under investigation or sued or anything for that matter, I'm probably the most ethical investor out there.
Nice.
So.
Love it.
That's awesome. Have any last questions for him?
So
Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate your time. How do people get a hold of you and reach out to you?
Just social media. It's my first and last name, Ryan Zolin. It's a Zolin, and agentinvestors.com. My community, I've got a bunch of free resources. I give away more for free than most people charge.
Nice.
And then aside from that, my community is always open. So if someone's interested and they're the right fit, I don't just take people's money. They have to actually qualify and go through a process for it. But people could always start in our free resources, and I could show them exactly what it is we do.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Have fun your traditional real estate appointment you have after this. Hopefully it goes really
Appreciate you guys.
well. Thank you so much. Hey guys, if you got anything else like we did, please like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell icon. We drop these episodes every Thursday. Our first episode is dropping this Thursday, which we're excited about. So thank you guys for being here. Hope you guys get something from this, and follow Ryan. Thank you.